Well, welcome back. Before going into the break, I told you about the special broadcast on Zimbabwe matters. In studio, I have an eminent panel of guests from the ruling party of Zimbabwe and representatives from the hashtag Tajamuka protests. ANN7 is organizing this special debate to get the real side of the story of protests, and it's called suppression by the Zimbabwean government. Let's continue with our debate. Now, continuing from where we left off, it seems quite a bit heated there from the callers that were calling in. Now, could you please tell us what are your reactions on some of the parties' rather ways of dealing with certain things? One of them, especially being education. A lot of Zimbabweans are also here, not just for education, but for employment as well. And it seems a lot of people feel that the government is making a lot of empty promises, and they say that they are on the Zimbabwean side, but the citizens are saying, ZANU-PF is Zimbabwean, not the other way around.
Well, I want to start by saying that 2018 is too far away. The government of Robert Mugabe in particular, must step down as soon as possible. I can tell you that even within ZANU-PF, they actually want him to step down. He has personalized the party, has personalized the country. Everything is about him, so he has to step down immediately. There are grounds within the country's constitution for him to step down before 2018. Old age is a good one. It's a very good example. And fitness, mentally, physically, and so on and so forth, all those issues could provide sufficient grounds for President Mugabe to step down. In 2008, we drew the election closer because of the deteriorating situation. We were supposed to have elections in 2010, but we ended up having them in 2008. And we have a similar situation now, where the country is deteriorating at an alarming alacrity, where we need to immediately correct the situation. I don't want to dwell much on the fake promises of the ZANU-PF government. They've promised a lot of things. They have delivered nothing. They promised 2.2 million jobs. More than 1 million people have lost their jobs already, rather than gaining those jobs. We've got $15 billion going away without trace. No one is held accountable. No one is arrested. You've got ministers that are corrupt, stenching corruption in the country, all over government departments. There is nothing that is being done about that. So we are saying enough is enough. Tajamuka, says Jigile, we are very tired of this government, and we mean it when we say they must step down.
Now, what is the role or as a spokesperson for Tajamuka, for example?
Come again?
What would be the role for the spokesperson of the movement of Tajamuka?
The role is to articulate the situation on the ground, as I do right now, and to clearly define, guided by the resolutions of the Tajamuka, hashtag Tajamuka committees, the direction which the protests are taking. We have also said that these protests are peaceful and lawful in terms of the country's constitution. We are actually implementing the country's new constitution by carrying out peaceful and lawful protests. ZANU-PF has a tradition of criminalizing and delegitimizing legitimate concerns of citizens. Right now, President Mugabe has just criticized Pastor Ivan for airing out a view. He has not called for any violence, but that is the tradition of ZANU-PF. And as the spokesperson of Tajamuka and as Tajamuka, our role is to articulate the position as it is, to decriminalize and insist on the legitimacy and peacefulness of our actions.
And how would you take that comment that Robert Mugabe made about Pastor Evan Mawarire? He did go on to say that, he doesn't know him and he's doubting whether he's a real pastor or not, almost downplaying his character.
That is his way of doing things. Changirai is the same. Joshua Nkomo was the same. It's only Robert Mugabe who is right. Everyone else who's opposed to him. Mai Mjuru, Joyce Mjuru, she had been part of ZANU-PF. The moment they differed, she is now setting up. Everybody who differs with Mugabe has to be tainted, has to be criminalized, has to be delegitimized. And I think that it is time that we correct that as a people, as Zimbabweans, to understand that these are legitimate Zimbabweans who wish for a better Zimbabwe than what Robert Mugabe is currently giving us.
Now, moving on, What would you say is the working force of Zimbabwe going through at the moment? We understand that the civil servants aren't or haven't been paid, consistently of late, and also the working conditions. The working class needs to be protected, and that the state take the necessary measures to ensure that those who unjustly abuse the working class are subjected to the full extent of the law. What is your take on that?
Well, it will be very notable that in Zimbabwe, being a worker under the government or any other form of work that you can get is the most deplorable situation anybody would want to be in. So working for the government or working anywhere in Zim is something that anybody does not want to be there. So the working conditions are very bad, and you'll know that for the civil servants, there are no specific salary dates. And when you have got a situation where salary dates are shifting every month, then you'll understand that you've got a bigger crisis. So to address that and to have people like my colleague here saying that they are in power, they are really doing something about it, that is very bad. And we have got workers that are being abused by the Chinese each and every time, and the government does not do anything about it. So in terms of being a worker in Zimbabwe, it's a pity. That is why you will see that most of the working population or the trained people in Zimbabwe, they are not working there. The conditions are bad, there are no salaries, the government is duck and diving, we are actually working for nothing. And that is the situation we are seeking to correct, to say that in the diaspora here, we are going to support our brothers as Tajamuka and any other force that is against the current status quo. We are going to do all that we can. We are going to engage the local students representative organizations to say, please, let's speak with one voice. Let's make it clear that what ZANU-PF is imposing on its people is not right. Internationally, according to international law and according to normal human rights expectations, it's very bad. So we are going full force. We are not turning back. We are not letting up, and we are going to ride on the current momentum to make sure that ZANU-PF is brought to a standstill. And remember, they would want to claim that they've got the support of the masses, which is cohesion, and whenever they do rallies, they will coerce villagers. And it's very deplorable that we've got a party that strives on the hunger, and the poverty that is afflicting the masses. They will tell you that if we don't come to our meetings, we are not going to get food aid. And the masses are not responsible for the rains. We do not make rain in Zimbabwe. If it didn't rain and you want food, they are forced to be in that situation. So they use all tricks in the book to make sure that people will gather their rallies, and the old men will just come and say a few things. Then he goes back. They make promises that they will create 2.2 million jobs. We have not seen any job that has been created by ZANU-PF. And we have got graduates that are coming out of universities each and every month, and they go into the street to sell airtime. And we have got this man here saying, no, we have got things under control. That is a lie. That is what we want to change around. And if needs be, we are going to use all means that are available to us. We are going to lobby SADC. We are going to lobby the international community. It's very surprising. To just give you an example here, we had the Minister of Finance, Patrick Shinamaza, going to London, addressing the IMF, trying to get some money. And we have got his boss, whenever he gets the opportunity to be on the podium, he'll be saying all bad things about Europeans, all bad things about the West and that. And you wonder whether the West is the one that is ZANU-PF or who is actually the West. Do the West run Zimbabwe? If we were so good, and if they were so good as they would want to portray, then they wouldn't be having to blame anybody. They've totally failed, and you are saying enough is enough. Tajamuka sesijikile, and ayiko into abazoyenza ukuthi sibuye nemuva. This we are going to do it, and this is the right time for the things that we so aspire to see. They are going to happen, and watch it is going to happen. None that is.
Awesome. Now, what is your response to that? I mean, the labor rights seem to be infringed as they, the workers feel that way. What are the practical steps that are being taken by government to regulate these? They're saying that they're not being paid fairly, and as we mentioned before, promises are being made that are empty. But what are the practical steps that are being taken? I think that's what the people are yearning to hear, is the practicality of the steps that the government is going to take.
I think we are not, we do not condone a situation where pay dates would be changed time and again. And we do not want also workers not to be paid on time. And we do not want people to work for free. The government wants people to be paid. And as we speak right now, there are a number of challenges that we have faced as a government. We have had a lot of money that have gone out through corruption and other corrupt activities that have taken place. And the government has been the first one to come up with the issue of the 15 billion that is said to have gone out. And those are some of the things that the government has seen. But the practical things that the government is doing in its pursuit to come up with the 2 million jobs, which have proven to be a little bit difficult. There are certain fundamentals that need to be in place, and one of the things that needs to be in place is money. And what is it that the government is doing? Because there are very few companies that are operational, as you know, right now. It means that the collection of revenue which is needed by the government in order to make available funds to pay the people is very little. And as a result, they are trying to get money from quite a number of other options that are available, which are not giving in a lot of money as well. And you are aware that in the sale of the diamonds and other things that we have had over the years, money has not been forthcoming as the government would have loved. And as a result, this has put a strain on the fiscus. And we have also seen that the government has been trying to rationalize the civil service in order to make sure that people that are assessed to be at work are paid on time. That has been going through, and those that have been identified not to have been working, the money now goes to the people that are actually in place. So there are a number of things that the government have been trying. Among them, these trips that the Minister of Finance has been undertaking to make sure that he mobilizes resources that are meant to boost the fiscus. But there are challenges that we have met in terms of mobilizing those resources, but the government is not tired and is not going to stand aloof and say people should work for free. That's why each time they've set aside the dates, they've honored those dates and people have been paid. Mm-hmm. And I'm aware that at some point recently they've been given allowances of $100 before they even get their money. Mm-hmm. While it is not the best practice that is expected by any government, but you can see that the government is trying to address those anomalies to make sure that things work properly as expected by any workforce.
Oh, thank you there. On the phone line, we have Frank from Johannesburg. Frank, what are your comments tonight?
My comment, I'm asking what happened to the breadbasket of Africa? Zimbabwe used to be the breadbasket of Africa. What happened? You know, we're good at destroying things. We keep on saying that we'll fix things for how many years? Now enough is enough. The man is old. He must rest. Play with the grandchild. You see, the medical in Zimbabwe is destroyed. You see, because he's taking the grandchild to Singapore for treatment. There, he was born there. When something's wrong, flies there. So what happened to the breadbasket of Africa? We, the young people, we never even thought that we would one day demonstrate. You see, we say no, we just leave. So when even started this movement, it's not that like we are against Robert Mugabe. We must just rest. And those people who are with ZANU-PF, they are cowards. Because what they are doing is that for them to find a successor. We are not saying even if he steps down, they must find a successor within that ZANU-PF. We're not
Frank, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Thank you for calling in tonight. I have to move on to another caller. Lindy from Cape Town, please do tell us what are your comments tonight.
Hello?
Yes, you are on the line. Please do tell us what are your comments.
Oh, okay. I would like to comment about Kenneth Mandaza, that one from ZANU-PF.
Go ahead.
Yes. The thing is that those people from ZANU-PF are the ones who are enjoying there in Zimbabwe. Let's talk reality. The thing is that there's too much nepotism also, and also people are giving each other jobs. And also like us, we are educated. I'm a teacher from Zim. But that education that I got from Zim is not working in Zimbabwe. I'm here in South Africa sitting with my diploma. And the thing is that they are talking about the violence in Zim. There's no violence like that. It's been years. We have been going through a lot, especially with my Mugabe. There was a time that there was no sanitary pads, imagine, in the shops. Imagine, there were no sanitary pads for people to use, for women to use. But she was having a shopping spree in Malaysia, imagine. But how much we suffered as Zimbabweans, especially Zimbabweans, we are all over because of you, ZANU-PF. We want to go home. We want to come back home and build Zimbabwe again. Tatambura, please. Tatambura. Taneteka nenyuvan with ZANU-PF.
Well, thank you very much, Lindy, there from Cape Town, expressing her frustration as well, saying that the most simplest things like sanitary for women was not even available in the country, and they want to come home, but it's taxing and it's very, very difficult. She has a diploma and she's here in South Africa, obviously trying to find a future for herself, but as all the Zimbabweans have mentioned, or what they have in common is that they all want to go home, but they are here because they feel that going home at the moment is not a choice. Now, I spoke to Pastor Evan Mawarire yesterday on the show, and he was quite vocal about how protesters and activists are being suppressed in Zimbabwe. Let's listen in. We will continue the debate after the soundbite.
You know, we have a number of options because what we are doing here is we are trying to get our government to realize that the citizens have needs, that the reality on the ground is not something that we are just dreaming up, but it is a hard life. And so part of our goal with the citizenry is to get government either to a negotiating table or just for them to change things the way that we are asking them to change things. We have not required of them to, move mountains. We've just said, do not put austerity measures when we are under crisis. Instead, why don't you put in place stimulus packages? Why don't you put in place stimulus, policies? So, for example, giving us import licenses for basic commodities is not going to help because we have 85% unemployment. And the people that have been importing these goods from South Africa and other countries, it's a job for them. They've created their own jobs where government has failed. Government promised us 2.2 million jobs. We have lost, in fact, hundreds of thousands of jobs since then. They promised us investment. We have not seen any investment. Companies and businesses have shut down continuously since then. So these are demands we are laying to government, saying, respond to your citizenry. Even if you couldn't respond fully, at least inspire the citizenry. At least reassure them. At least come out and show that you are for us. And unfortunately, our government has reacted by intimidating, has reacted by arresting, and has reacted by being heavy-handed on the citizenry, which is not the response that we're looking for. And it makes anti-government sentiment strong. I think the future plans for the movement are found in the seeds of the movement. And the seeds of the movement were to create citizens that are bolder. In Zimbabwe over the years, we have been afraid to speak as a citizen for various reasons, amongst them being the intimidation over the years, and of course the brutality that we have experienced when people have spoken out. So going forward, our goal remains emboldening citizens. We cannot back down from this space ever again. And our goal now is to grow further and further into becoming citizens that speak more and more. But looking ahead, we have elections coming up in 2018. And if Zimbabweans are not happy with the current government that they have, then it's time for every Zimbabwean to start making preparations to change that within the confines of the law and constitutionally. You know, I have been very effective as a pastor and also as a citizen. And I think that this needs to play out as much as it can. And I think sometimes trying to get into politics or trying to form it into a political movement may actually kill the impact that it has. I think Zimbabweans are waking up now to the fact that they will be able to make a choice and that they will be able to galvanize around the choice that they want for themselves in 2018.
Now, how do we go about mobilizing the people? Pastor Mawarire had a lot of important points that he put across there. What is your reaction on his words, and what would you like to say, basically?
Well, I agree with most of the things that he has said, except to say that we don't believe that this government needs another chance. They have been there since 1980.
So this is it. This
is it.
Done. They're tired.
There is nothing they are going to change. There is no stimulus they are going to bring. There is no inspiration they are going to give to the people, as the pastor suggests. So we are saying that this government must just step down. This is totally lawful. In any democracy, if a government fails, it can and it should be called back by the people that elect it, and elect a new government that will be effective and that will fulfill its promises. And we are going to continue to mobilize citizens precisely towards ensuring that we pressure this government to step aside and facilitate the transition to a better and greater Zimbabwe.
Do you feel like the government is done and dusted? Is this it? Or do you agree with your counterpart here? And what are your reactions also to Pastor Mawirire's words?
Well, I would like to thank him so much for having the courage to start the movement that he has started, which is what we have been yearning for in Zimbabwe, to say, well, we have got opposition, but we needed the voice that kept on saying at all times that things are not so good. And we believe that that is the right way to go, but at the end of the day, you cannot negotiate with a hungry man. I come in front of you as an hungry man, and I've got thousands and thousands of people out there that have got the same sentiments that I have, that are going through the same situation that I'm going through. So to say that we need another 2 years of suffering is quite it's being inhuman to say we should allow these guys to continue riding on our backs for another 2 years. And to make matters worse, to just try and terrify us more, they've actually made it a point that the 94-year-old man will be the president presidential candidate in 2018. So it goes to show that they do not really have the plight of the masses. They do not care about the status of the roads. There are no roads in Zimbabwe. They do not care about the status of our clinics and health system. There is nothing happening there. They simply do not care. So if to say that we should wait for elections and try to make changes, then it's a very, very long and tedious way. And we have also realized that we have gone to elections and the government has failed to make the level, the playing field quite level. They've always come up with chicanery to frustrate the voters. They do not want to register voters. They always have these tricks. And to say that we need the election under such circumstances is as good as repeating the same mistakes time and again. We are not prepared for elections. I personally wouldn't want to go into an election where ZANU-PF has maintained its chicanery, where it has maintained the status quo, and say we're just going
I'm going to have to cut you off there. I do apologize for interjecting, Mr. Kennedy. What is your reaction to that, the roads, and what Mr. Mawarire had to say?
Well, as ZANU-PF, we, as per the Constitution, the Zimbabwean Constitution, people have a democratic right to air their voices to the current government or to any other organization. So it is within their right, for as long as it is done peacefully, to air their grievances and make sure that their grievances are taken to the right people. What we detest as ZANU-PF is when these protests and demonstrations take a violent nature. And with regards to the promises that the party has always made, and which we continue to make, as we speak right now, there are quite a number of other things that are taking place. I can assure you that I think they are quite aware of that the Bedbridge Mashingo Road will be taking off as shortly. Contracts have been signed, and what is left is for us to begin to see the dualization of that road. So there are attempts that the government are doing to make sure that the things that the people have been saying over the years, they are corrected. And we remain confident that we are moving in the right trajectory to make sure that things that need to be attended to are attended to. And come 2018, if people listen to the voice of reason, they will return ZANU-PF in power.
Yes. Now I have Chipo from Midrand who is calling in tonight. Chipo, what is your comment for tonight?
I have two comments to begin with. The first one is for Mr. Kennedy Mandaza. How can you expect 14 million people to put their future and their faith in the hands of a 94-year-old who probably doesn't remember what day it is on some days? And my other question is towards Tajamuka. The house divided cannot stand. So we've got many protests coming up. Beat the port, Tajamuka, this flag. What are we doing all together as Zimbabweans to have one powerful protest that's going to be heard, that's going to be influential, that's going to make reason, and that's going to make people say, you know what? The crowd, the country, the citizens have spoken. Enough is enough. It's time that we did something to help our citizens. Because as it stands, we are all emanating from left, right, and center. But I haven't seen one united front saying this is what we are going to do. And I haven't seen a strategy or anything come up for us to say, tomorrow this is what's going to happen. In a week's time, this is what's going to happen. We had one successful stairway, but then the other one wasn't as successful because most likely most people didn't even hear about it. So what are we doing as a movement to get this on the ground, to get it moving faster than it's been moving? Because we need to accelerate. We can't afford to move slowly now that we've already gathered the momentum. So I need to help with those two questions because this is what makes us have faith in you as a movement, and this is what makes us put our trust in you that, you know what, you are moving us forward and we are going to achieve something at the end of the day.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Kennedy, what is your answer to that?
It's not in my power. It's not about Kennedy Mandaza deciding on what the Zimbabweans want. Over the years, people have been asked to go to vote. In the party, in ZANU-PF, people have been asked to choose a leader. And we have retained President Robert Mugabe. And as in government, they are the people who have voted for President Robert Mugabe and given him a mandate to run the country until 2018. So if a democratic space is created and people have to use it to the best of their ability, and likewise, in 2018, that democratic space is also going to be there. If people are saying President Robert Mugabe is not the best of the leaders, then it is up to them. But what we have seen is when we started to sell the party, our party ZANU-PF, we win the votes. And for as long as we do that, we'll continue to run the country and run it to the best of our abilities with the people aspirations in our heart. We do not do these things for ourselves, the majority of the people. We know that people have allegations of ministers doing this, corruption and so on. Those are things that even the government have also spoken about. But all what we do it for the interest of the people of Zimbabwe.
Well, just final thoughts there really quickly, in about 5 seconds if you can. What is your closing statement on it today?
My closing remark will be to say that to Africans the world over and the international community, everybody, let's really support one another in this effort. And to just answer as well from the Chipo that has just called, in terms of the protests coming up here and there, we are going to unite at the end and we are working on the modalities for unity. But it's very important because you are fighting a system that is so entrenched. So we want to actually exhaust them by having protests in such a way that will work for us. But again, we have got a problem with the gentleman here. I'm really frustrated by the comments that he continues to make to say that they will continue to rule as long as they want, because they know they are stealing elections. They are actually rigging their way into there. So we have a serious problem, but we are going to mobilize the people.
All right, thank you very much. And last words from you, Promise.
My last words is that we, the citizens of Zimbabwe, have the power to change our situation. And we need to work collectively together to complement each other's strengths, to maximize on our strengths. This flag, what is their strength? Tajamuka, what is our strength? And all the other social movements that are coming up. We combine ourselves, we throw away fear and confront in a very peaceful but resolute manner and drive out this criminal government of Robert Mugabe.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on stage here. And thank you to our viewers for calling in tonight and being a part of the debate. There you have it from the citizens, from Tajamuka, from #ThisFlag, and from ZANU-PF. Time